You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right.
Hello.
Dun, dun, dun.
Howdy, howdy, people.
Cheers.
Cheerios. I don't know why it's played. Cheerios.
We have a lag.
Cheerios. A little bit, I think, but I think we're fine. Hello, hello.
Should we just...
Really? All right, calm down. How's it going, everyone?
You look good.
Thanks. I decided, might as well wear this. The last few times I'll be wearing this veil.
Because you always wear your veil.
I always wear
well, that was veil. That was your bachelorette.
This is my bachelorette veil. Okay. I'm not standing out. Your
family's looking through the window right now and shaking their head.
We're in a house full of people.
This is how hardcore Monero we are, guys.
Right? You got to give us a lot of credit,
Week of the wedding.
Yeah, the week of the
morning
wedding.
After arriving in Puerto Rico.
Which was a very, very long journey.
Shouldn't really say morning after. It's still the morning.
It's still the morning.
Yeah.
We landed at 4 a.m. So.
And it took us.
It took us forever to get a car because they had to clean the car that we were waiting for. And then by the time we left and by the time we got to the apartment, we went to sleep at like 7 o'clock in the morning, guys.
I don't know why they're acting like it's like peak COVID around here too. Like in the airport, they're all in their hazmat suits.
Trying to take.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on around here.
They're trying to take.
But we made it to the beach.
We did.
It's beautiful.
It's really
a little
nice.
cloudy though.
Yeah, a little cloudy, but it's supposed to clear out.
And we passed out. We almost didn't wake up in time for the show.
Yeah.
We were trying to catch at least an hour or two of sleep.
Yeah, we slept literally, I think, 2 hours.
2 hours.
So bear with us if we're rambling or a slight disaster.
Rambling more than usual.
Yeah.
So anyway, do we got people on?
Yeah, we got a good old 4 people. I mean, it's a little earlier than usual.
Okay.
But I'm sure people will watch it after the fact. So it's all good.
Yeah. What do you want to cover?
I guess you want to start with the price report or go straight to one of our guests, actually. We could start with one guest.
Okay. Well, let's should we remind people Monerotopia guys?
Monerotopia. Yeah. You can
April 7th. It's now it's now like 5 weeks away, not even.
Yeah, it's less. Yeah, it's 5 weeks away.
Yeah, so we're pretty much set with the speakers, and we have now people reaching out to us that want to speak additionally, but I don't even know if we can fit anybody else. We're thinking of maybe creating like a second speaker stage. So we have the main stage that's going to be in the venue. We do have this outdoor area where we're going to be setting up the vendors, and we'll have where people can chill outside. We'll have a bar out there, but we might put like a tent out there and make it a second speaker stage. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
These are delirious thoughts I had on the plane.
We're just going to have a lot of awesome speakers, so I think it would make sense.
Yeah, so maybe we do that, and then we could cram a few more people in, and put some on that stage and some on the inside stage. So that's what we're thinking of. But yeah, guys, just get tickets and get down there.
Get your tickets today, people.
Monerotopia.com. Do it.
It's a sizzling hot
And if you want to help in any way, ways you could help are spreading the word. So we have a packed house down there. And reaching out, maybe we still need some volunteers.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we still need some volunteers. So if anyone's interested in helping us out, you'll get a free ticket. And
best way is what for them to hit us up.
You can email us at monerotopia@ctemplar.com or DM us on Twitter at Monerotopia or Monero Talk.
Or join the Telegram. Right?
Or join the Telegram group. Yeah, that's
Monerotopia Telegram group. That's also a good way to coordinate with other people that are going to the conference. If you are going, maybe share an Airbnb. It's a good way to do that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but please, reach out if you're interested in helping us out in any way possible. If you can't make it to the conference, we need some social media help. If you're like into it or just obviously really excited about the conference and want to help us out, again, reach out to us. We'd really appreciate any help we can get. Because it's almost
slightly overwhelmed.
Yeah, just a bit. But
after the wedding, I think things will calm down a little bit, right?
We have another,
but we won't have much time at that point. But
no, but we'll figure.
I feel like we did all the heavy lifting. That we have the venue, we have the speakers. Now it's just some minor details.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out.
So moving on.
Yeah, I guess let's move on. Maybe let's introduce our first guest because I think they can't stay with us too soon.
Okay.
And then we can move on to the price report and then our next guest. So
let's do it.
Let me.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right.
Our first guest is Rolf. Hello.
Rolf, what's going on,
Thank
man?
you so much.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good.
We're good. We're good.
How you doing?
You're looking good.
We tried.
Does Rolf know we're getting married this week?
No, I just learned. Congrats.
Thank you. So yeah, it's been a hectic couple of weeks and especially hectic week. So yeah, we were scrambling last night. We just landed last night. Well, this morning. They made car issues, but we made it.
Yeah.
We're alert and ready
Good to hear.
talk.
But we figured if we didn't do the show now, then it's probably not going to happen. So
Yeah.
Turn this off. We're kind of going into family party mode for a week. Yeah, man. So we just wanted. We're building our way up to Monerotopia, and we're trying to have some of the speakers on. We had a few on last week, so we hit you up. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, so if you want to give a quick introduction.
Yeah,
of yourself,
I'm sure a lot of people probably caught the Monero Talk episode we did. That was actually one of our most popular, I think, of all time. But if you want to quickly intro yourself, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. Yeah, so I'm an assistant professor at the Delft University of Technology, which is one of the technical universities in the Netherlands. And my area of research is on the intersection between IT, governance, and crime. And one of the areas I did some work on is how cryptocurrencies can be used by, on the one hand, criminal actors, but on the other hand, of course, also how law enforcement or regulatory options exist for cryptocurrencies to make the world a safer place, including the world with cryptocurrencies, not the world without cryptocurrencies. So that's me.
Yeah, man. Obviously, a very interesting expertise that you have there, something extremely relevant to what's going on with Monero and how Monero is used. It's always one of the major topics, right? So with this great power that we've created comes good and evil, right? And people are going to use it for good things. People are going to use it for bad things. And what do we do about that, if anything? So really interesting stuff. Yeah, we wanted to put you on that panel. That's what we were thinking, on that kind of that regulation and policy panel.
Yeah.
But obviously, also if you want to give a talk as well down there, that'd be cool. Any thoughts on what you might talk about? Obviously this topic, but anything specific that you would kind of report down there, possibly that you might focus in on?
Well, I think the conversation that we had, which I enjoyed very much, and it's also nice to learn that a lot of people enjoyed that too. I think we covered a lot of ground, but I think there are two main things that can fit into the conference. I think first about the regulatory options that we have. I think that is a great thing to put into the panel. And then the other part that we talked about is, let's say, the underground economy and how Monero there plays a role. So that might be something to discuss too, because there's a lot of, I think you know this way better than I do, there's a lot of misconceptions maybe even about the role of Monero in the underground economy. And there are all sorts of anecdotal evidence and anecdotal, people who tell you anecdotes about stuff. But then the question becomes, how big is this, and should we worry about that? And that might be a nice addition to that. But of course, you built a program, so I'm happy to be there and to contribute in whatever way I can.
Awesome, man. No, we are very much looking forward to having you. We know you're coming a long way, right?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Coming from Europe.
Well, I don't know what the distance is between where you came from and Puerto Rico, but I'm happy to make the trip. This is one of the first actually intercontinental trips I'm going to take after COVID, so I'm very looking forward to it, actually.
Thank you.
Great.
Right?
Yeah. Knock on wood, it should be an amazing time and a great, first post-COVID travel experience. Miami is the place to be in terms of not wanting to deal with the COVID world anymore. They've moved on a while ago. So when you're down in Miami, it's kind of very refreshing. People aren't really concerned about it anymore, aren't really letting it control their lives. So there's a lot of freedom and liberty in the air down there. So you're definitely going to enjoy that aspect.
Looking forward to that.
What do you think, man, of recent current events? We're seeing cryptos attempted to being used for these censorship resistant qualities. We saw it with the trucker convoy in Canada. People were trying to use Bitcoin and crypto to fund the truckers, and didn't really work out so well with the crypto solution because of the fact that Bitcoin is traceable. And now we're seeing it again. Things take place with what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. People funding the Ukrainian efforts with cryptocurrency. Some of those funding sources potentially even coming from people in Russia that maybe disagree with the war. So they're kind of taking that risk there. They're donating to a cause that could potentially get them in a lot of trouble. Maybe put them on a hit list, so to speak, for Putin's hit list, and they're using cryptocurrency to do it. Mostly traceable cryptocurrencies. In fact, I haven't really seen any mention of Monero, other than the Monero community, but not like out there. So just curious, what's your take in terms of crypto and how it's being used right now, and what we're seeing in terms of this potential traceability maybe showing itself as being a flaw here?
Yeah, I think with all the current events, which of course are horrible to watch. I think regardless of which event we're talking about, I think if it's either sanctions that are putting the financial system into a position that you cannot use it anymore as easily as you would have used it before, or if you're looking at it through a more like crowdfunding perspective with the truckers you just mentioned, I think people are looking for ways to use alternative forms of payment or alternative uses of financial transactions to make sure that money that they have ends up with the people that they want them to end up with. And I think for them now, currently, traceability is not a core aspect of what they want to achieve, as in they're not taking that into account per se. What they want to achieve, of course, is that money flows unrestrictedly to the people that they want the money end up with. But you're absolutely right. It sparked my mind too, that it's interesting to see that the default then becomes Bitcoin to use as this alternative form of payment outside of the regular financial system, I mean, and not a currency like Monero. But I guess that is something that we talked about in the podcast too, right? I mean, this is something that maybe the majority of people who then pivot to cryptocurrencies are just know Bitcoin and use that, whilst they don't know that they then have a similar amount of traceability that they have with the use of the regular financial system.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's also a great real world example once again of how crypto can be used for good and bad, right? obviously, war is kind of humanity. It's humanity at its worst, right? And here we have a technology, one that can be used in an unstoppable way to potentially fund war, potentially crowd fund war. Now, so when it's being used to crowd fund what we see as the more ethical side, or the side that we think should be funded, then sure, I guess we say it's a good thing. But maybe if it's being used to fund the other side, it's a bad thing. But overall, we're seeing this technology being used in a way perhaps not originally imagined by everybody that is getting into cryptocurrency. And yeah, just any other additional thoughts there? I mean, it's just kind of just another example, right, of people using this tech in ways not necessarily imagined.
No, I agree. I think, when we would have had this conversation 10 years ago, we wouldn't have imagined that we live now in a world in this day and age that we have this war between Russia and Ukraine, and that the EU and the United States, but also Canada, United Kingdom, are very much aligned on these sanctions, which actually have the same effect as shutting down the complete financial system in, for instance, Russia, or at least the use of the financial system in Russia, meaning that people seek alternative ways to still get value across to somebody else. And I think, indeed, you're absolutely right. Nobody imagined 10 years ago that this would be a viable option for any other alternative form of payment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things I'm finding interesting is kind of threading that needle, right? So Bitcoiners, I heard Swan Bitcoin, the guy from Swan Bitcoin, Corey something or other, he's pretty well known in the space now. He was on Bloomberg Radio yesterday. I heard it as I was rushing home to pack to go to Puerto Rico, and they're talking how Bitcoin's being, like we're saying right now, is being used for war efforts, and they were talking about how people in Ukraine are potentially using it to get their money out of the country, right? Or to leave, and to leave with all their value, right? Because they can just leave with their private keys and whatnot. So it's kind of an easy way to pick up and go and bring all your value with you. And then they were also talking about, it was questioned, well, if it could be used for that, then is it also then potentially being used by these Russian oligarchs to avoid sanctions, right? So, and the response from the Swan Bitcoin guy was, well, no, because, Bitcoin is traceable, right? So, if somebody were to move large amounts, they'd be seen doing it. So it's very interesting, because on the one hand, he was saying Bitcoin is unstoppable and it's great for this use case if you want to move money around without a government being able to confiscate it, or see that you're doing it, take it away from you. And on the other hand, saying, well, governments ultimately can see you doing it and I guess confiscate it. So
you're muted.
Just what's that?
No, because he was talking.
Oh, okay. So just curious what you think about it. I just find it very, it's like, I feel like we're kind of going in circles there a little bit. Like, so what's the deal, guys? Like, is Bitcoin this thing that is unstoppable, that can be used to avoid government intervention, whether that's good or bad? Or is it that it's ultimately always virtuous, and, it can only be used for good, and it's also going to stop bad things? Like, I don't see how you get both. Just curious what you think of that.
No, I agree. You can't have both, right? What's that famous saying? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. I think, by the way, I don't know how many oligarchs would actually use like any form of cryptocurrency to move money around. I think, I don't know if they actually think of that, and B, it seems more important for them to have their yachts ready and stationed somewhere that they don't get seized, instead of that they're thinking about all the other things.
But
No, but you're
we
absolutely
have to
right.
imagine at some point they will be doing that, right? If not this occasion, then maybe 10 years from now, right? If crypto is on the trajectory that it's currently on, why wouldn't they have a large chunk of their wealth in crypto and or be able to easily put it into crypto and then freely move about, right? Isn't that kind of an inevitable future at this point?
Yeah, I'm not an oligarch, so I can't answer that question. But I mean, I think, if you're a wealth manager or someone working at a bank that you then, as an oligarch or someone wealthy, trust your money with, I don't know if that is the individual who's gonna point you towards crypto, right? That's the thing. It's still in a sort of like traditional setting that these people have their money being monitored, and they have their money stashed with the traditional financial system and have advisors that advise them to leave it right there. But yeah, we don't know how the future looks, but it's indeed interesting, these use cases that we see now, that when there are sanctions in place in the traditional regular financial system, that people seek ways to still be able to move money around. And definitely crypto is one of these assets that you can use to do that. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm getting at is ultimately when the argument is made, when, we really do get to this point where they're saying, governments and regulators and legislators are saying, hold on a minute, guys. If crypto continues to evolve in the way it's currently evolving, governments are going to lose the power to do things like sanction, right? Which is obviously an important power to have. We see how necessary it is in this war that Russia is fighting with Ukraine. If the U.S. The U.S. government and NATO essentially didn't have the ability to sanction and to kick Russia off of SWIFT, what teeth would it really have to harm Russia without actually just going to war with them? So in the future, are we potentially going to live in a world where governments maybe don't have those fangs anymore because we have this truly censorship-resistant technology?
Yeah, well, I guess we have to see how it turns out with the uptake of cryptocurrencies, and if indeed the majority of, for instance, wealth is then assets are then in something other than what we call the traditional financial system. And if that is the case, and you want to sanction certain regimes, then the question indeed becomes how can you still do that then? But on the other hand, I think we had this discussion last time too. You have these like intermediaries who still play a big role in the interchange between, on the one hand, the traditional financial system, and on the other hand, the crypto ecosystem, right? So these Monero exchanges, cryptocurrency exchanges in general, meaning still that if they are in a regulatory system, that means that you can sanction them, which means that, sure, you can't sanction people using cryptocurrencies, but you can sanction sort of like the interface between crypto and the regular financial system. So that is still something you can do, but you're absolutely right. That is, of course, something to keep an eye on from a regulatory perspective. If you still have these options that you now have for sanctioning a certain regime.
Right. And then what comes to mind with me is putting my Monero cap on, which is always on.
No.
Does Monero then become the one that they're most concerned about because it really takes away their ability to stop, sanction, surveil, versus Bitcoin, which ultimately, yes, can you always click that button to send? Sure, but they can still see where the money is going and ultimately stop their use of the crypto, so making it basically useless. Like, sure, you can send $1 billion from one wallet to the next, but good luck somehow using that in the real world, because everybody knows who it came from, who owns it, where's it's going, as opposed to something like Monero, which you might be able to more secretly interface then with the real world and kind of off ramp there.
Yeah, no, I think you have a point there, and that might indeed be somewhat worrisome for regulators. That if indeed the move to crypto is continuing, and they're looking for regulatory options, considering sanctions they want to put in place, then of course Monero, or well, yeah, if you're talking about sanctioning the interfaces I just talked about, right, these intermediaries, then it doesn't really matter if we're talking Bitcoin or we're talking Monero. But of course, for surveillance, at least, right? So not sanctioning, but like surveying which transactions occur. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Bitcoin then offers some form of surveillance opportunities, but then Monero would not. So yeah, but I would think time will tell. And of course, then we're talking about a situation unfolding like today, and of course, we hope that doesn't happen.
Yep. So obviously, I'm sure we'll be discussing these topics again at Monerotopia on the regulation and policy panel for sure. But yeah, we're gonna move on
to the price report.
Price report. Rolf, if you could stick around, please do. If you can't, do what you got to do. But if you can stick around, we're gonna do a few other things. Price report, the news. I think we have another guest, and then we're gonna open it up to anybody that's watching that wants to jump on. But love to have you if you could stick around.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Wow, sorry. That's like what they do on the that's what they do on Bloomberg, right? They cut everybody off. They just keep moving on. We're getting.
But you were about to say something. Sorry about that. I clicked the button.
No, that's totally all right. I was going to say that unfortunately I can't, but I will be, of course, at the conference in Miami. So I'll be happy to answer any and all questions that people might have viewing this right now or that are rewatching this later.
All right, awesome.
Thank you so much, man. We'll touch base with you after this with regards to giving you kind of clearer direction on whether you're doing a talk plus the panel. We'll figure that all out.
Great.
Enjoy. Thanks so much for joining us.
Really look forward to your time. Seeing you in person.
All right, we'll see you in April in Miami.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Bye. And we'll add a fungible now.
All right.
How's it going?
That was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Hi, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. Oh, my pleasure. First of all, congratulations for your upcoming wedding. I've been following. You guys look already married because you're quite chilled. Like you get this feeling only after marriage.
We've been through we've been in the trenches for quite some time. We've been through thick and thin already. So.
That's just tying the knot.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you so much. All right.
All right. Yeah, let me begin the price analysis. I'm just like always, I'm going to just start with Google Trends. Not like always, but this time I'm going to introduce some probably changes in Google Trends, fear and greed index, and some price action with the EMA ribbons, which is exponential moving average. So let's go on with that. Let me open the screen. So I have a few windows open here. First, we'll start checking the fear and greed index. It's pretty much down now. We are in extreme fear. Like everybody knows what's happening around the world. So that's not a surprise. So I would see right now a bearish sideways action. So we'll be popping up and down between, let's say 20 and 40 is what I see. I don't see us going too much high right away, and I don't see ourselves dumping down to, let's say, less than 30,000. That's what I see right now. So from the Google Trends, it's also what I see with Bitcoin is that it's maintaining the interest. So the interest is rising around the world. Also, the number of, I saw the statistic somewhere recently that the number of users popping into cryptocurrencies are expected to reach 1 billion by end of this year or beginning of next year. So that's quite significant all over the world. It's regarding the number of people who have done at least KYC on the exchanges. So this is like Bitcoin, which is still, the interest is still in the developed countries, but also in developing countries, it's growing. So I think its adoption is picking up quite fast. And this was an interesting trend I saw. I just wanted to put VPN and privacy as one of the search terms. And people who use VPN also tend to be a little interested in privacy in general, either for entertainment or like watching movies in Netflix or otherwise. I think that is where the interest also starts, and that is how I also see with the people I know. That's how they started getting into Monero kind of privacy coins. One interesting thing is VPN is quite popular in developed countries, but it's still picking pace in developing countries. So that is something I think I don't see that happening right away. It's going to be very slow, the progress there, but it all depends. I think VPN as a whole, as an industry, has grown leaps and bounds in during the pandemic. So I think we have a great scope for privacy coins in general going forward. For Monero Google Trends, I don't really see too much of action. It's kind of dried right now. Again, we have to see how this plays down. It's really quite volatile, let's say. Let's move to the charts. What do we have here? Let's see. All right, have to close this. So this is the Bitcoin USD chart. I added a few more resistances and supports. I see that the 30,000 support should hold, because we already saw like some kind of double top before at around $60,000, and then we fell down, and we also saw a double top around the 46,000 resistance, and we are in this Bollinger Band zone. Let me add the special EMI ribbon. It's called Madrid Moving Average ribbon. This is a pretty interesting moving average, because we see from the past, whenever there is a change in trend, either the bullish side or the bearish side, we see that this light green ribbons transform into a maroon and transform into red, and that is where the bear market starts. And when I say bear market, it need not be like a year of bear market or 2 years of bear market. It can also be a few months. So we see it's acted out pretty reasonably and pretty nicely. And we did enter a bear market about November of previous year, and we are still in a bear market that way. But we are going to bounce off between these two levels of, I would say, around 36,000. We should not dip below 36,000, because if we do, then next level of support is around this. And I'm pretty sure if it breaks 36,000 with great volumes, it's going to really fall down to these levels. But right now we're holding it pretty nicely. And I would at some point expect a reversal like this towards a bull phase, where we see a dark green candles, but I don't see that right away. But it can be, let's say, around the corner. So let's say in a couple of months, but that's still a speculation. But this is what we see right now, a bounce between, it's right now in a bearish sideways action. With respect to the overall crypto markets, nothing really of interest here. We are somewhere in this territory, a bearish sideways action. And where are we right now? Let's see. All right, so we are around, between the expected support, about $2 trillion. I think the altcoin markets follows the Bitcoin market. So Bitcoin is the final mover for the other coins to move in any direction. So I do see that, we are between these two supports, but I do see at some point we're going to go above that. When, we cannot say for sure right now. And the third one is the XMR BTC chart. And the good thing is that it is holding on the long-term trend line against BTC. So it's not really broken down below it. So I think it's pretty much doing what Bitcoin is doing, just hopping between the two lines. But I would say that we have formed some kind of support around $130, and we are hopping between 130 and 180. So until it breaks above 180, I think it's just going to be in that particular zone.
Awesome, man. Great job. Oh, you have a few more charts? I want to ask questions too, but go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, finish up, and then I'll ask some questions.
Right. Well, there's the Mayer multiple. We are below 1.0. So anytime we are below 1.0, it's a great time to accumulate. I think people should be thinking about long-term accumulation at these levels. And I wouldn't really care if it drops below 30,000 or, goes to 20,000, as some people say, because even if that were to happen, I would say it would still be a short blip in the chart. So it won't be like really long-term, because we already at 50%. Historically, like, this is it. We don't go down too much further. And in terms of the, how do you call this, the hash rate, we are at all-time highs. So that is something that we need to understand, that miners are accumulating, they are not selling, and institutions are also accumulating. So they are looking at larger numbers going forward, so which is a good news. And this is something that just off the beat, I just found out the number of tweets that are happening, because tweets are also like marketing. It lets more people know about the asset class. In terms of Bitcoin, it's been like rising higher, as I see. But for Monero, I see that it's pretty much stayed constant for a very long time. So I think it will be good that if people tweet more about Monero in general. And I think a couple of more things. Yes, this was just something I found with regards to the amount of Bitcoin sent over time. And whenever the amount of Bitcoins that are transacted on chain increases rapidly, and you would see that there is a sudden exponential growth, that marks the peak of a cycle. And that is what happened in January 2018, and that is exactly what happened in last year October, and that marks the bear cycle. So this is another indicator which shows that we're clearly in a bear cycle trend, and I expect some sort of form of reversal back to the bull market in the coming time. And I think one more thing I don't know if you've seen this, guys. This is the CBDC tracker.
No, I don't think I've seen that.
Okay, so I'll just brief this quickly. Like, a lot of people don't know that, CBDC, people say that CBDC is something that we will have in future, but it's not that very surprising that CBDC is already here. So if we see the countries that have launched CBDCs, just a second. Yeah, so we know that Nigeria has already launched CBDC, it's in operation. The CBDCs, that central bank digital currencies that are already in operation, is in Canada, South Africa, China, Saudi Arabia. These are all have pilots already. Countries have already created proof of concept, which is Russia and Kazakhstan and Australia. So basically, the next stage is of launch. The precursor of launching is, of course, proof of concept and piloting. And rest of the world in the world, across Europe and even India and even Egypt are all in the research phase. So I think it's just a matter of time that we have CBDC all around the globe. So this website is pretty cool, cbdctracker.org. I think this is where I see that we can have something with some interest with Monero. And I think I also have this one. This was the stock to flow model for Monero. And to my dismay, this was trending pretty weirdly. So ideally, we should follow this gray line, but this is going haywire. So I think there are a lot of parameters that dictates this, not just the transaction count and the price parameters. I think there is some more, even the geopolitical shift and the bear market we are currently in. So we'll have to wait and watch where it goes.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Great, amazing job as always. Anybody that enjoys aFungible's reports as much as we do, consider sending them some tips. Great job, man. Really good job.
Oh, thank you so much.
A few things that really stick out, that have me questioning things. One, I find it interesting that Google Trends, right? So we're not seeing an uptick with Monero, even in spite of everything that's going on in the world right now, right? So I feel like Monero, my own anecdotal perception, Monero is kind of trending a little bit right now. Yeah, I feel like people are talking about it more. I feel like Bitcoiners are mentioning it more with everything that's going on in terms of what we're seeing with Ukraine and what we saw with the trucker convoy. So that's interesting that we're not even really seeing an uptick in Google searches of Monero right now, right?
Yeah, I think everything goes hand in hand. When people talk about Bitcoin, then people may talk about Monero. But even in Bitcoin, I think it's been pretty consistent, like for the last, let's say, 1 year, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much the same case with Monero. So I think it's all relative to
I would just think we'd see a little bit of an uptick right now in terms of people interested in the concept of Monero versus Bitcoin, right? Given everything that's going on.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's a bit ironical, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yep. And then second thing, so obviously market appears to still be in a downtrend. Once again, global events. Where is that coming into play? I mean, it felt like is technical analysis just, it feels like it's like detached from reality right now, right? So, I mean, crypto is kind of more relevant than ever. We're seeing it actually some real potential real world use cases beyond speculation playing out in real time right now. I think last week or the week before, there was this kind of thought that Bitcoin, crypto in general, people were flocking to it because out of a need, right? To use it for, like you said, for funding purposes or for avoiding sanctions, whatever it may be, or to as a store of value, as a safe haven asset. Even there, we saw Bitcoin trend the opposite of gold initially for some time, but then last week it looked like Bitcoin was going up, and then I guess the rumors were that maybe people were kind of using it as a safe haven. Just what are your thoughts there? It seems like it's completely detached, and actually what is happening in the real world isn't really having any real effect on price, and price is just doing its own thing. It seems like.
Yeah, I think what's really happening is one of the let's say markets to blame is the futures market. People who have a lot of position in Bitcoin, they are still stacking up. So that happens, like you see this sudden jump from 37,000 to I think 45,000 within a day or two. That seemed like a big buy order came in, but at the same time people are hedging their positions because there is not a real incentive for prices to go real up. I think what's really happening is we are trying to find a bottom at the moment. We still haven't found the bottom. That's what I think. So I think this is a futures market that is selling, or people are hedging their position because they're stacking sats at the same time they're selling. I think if there were no futures market, I think we would have seen a large uptrend. But I think that's what is happening in across all exchanges, because all exchanges have futures, and that's what is suppressing the price, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when we saw that spike last week, it was
yeah.
It felt like Bitcoin was detaching a little bit from the wider market, right?
Yes.
I think it continued to trend down, and Bitcoin had a few days where it really aggressively spiked up. But you don't think that was really anything to do with people using it as kind of a safe haven? It was just some kind of anomaly. People just, it was just a dead cat bounce, so to speak.
Dead cat bounce. Well, I wouldn't say that was a dead cat bounce. I think that was an honest purchase in the market. It drove, but again, I think the technical charts dictate the geopolitical events rather than the other way around. So we should be able to read from the charts what's going to happen next, because this is like the collective consciousness of all the people. I think it still hit the resistance, but if you see from the chart, I was expecting that we would have a drawdown, and we did have a drawdown. So, I mean, we can have multiple bounces, but until it breaches those resistance points, I think we're not going to go anywhere above that. So I think if we have another bounce, but if it breaks with great volumes above 46,000, people get the confidence that, okay, we can drive up to 52,000. And then again, up to above 52,000, we have to really get good volumes. And then I think we should I would say go towards 70,000 this time, because the third time we're going to test this particular resistance of 64, 65,000.
So $1 million question here. What do you think the likelihood is that we've already kind of saw the bottom, or do you think
I think we are in search of a bottom.
one last big...
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have one last capitulation, but I think people are already bored with this price action. We are around the corner seeing the bottom, but it could also happen that it just goes to 36,000, fools a lot of people, and it suddenly breaks out like big ass candle, going up of 52,000 within a few days. It can certainly happen, but I don't see us like how people are saying going down to 10,000, 20,000. I don't see that happening. I mean, even in the worst case, even if that happens, that's going to be really short-lived. That we won't even have to bother about it. Yeah.
You have it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, and all the best for your marriage.
Thank you. We'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah, we will.
Yes. Have a nice day.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Feel free to stick around, obviously, if you want a fungible. All right. Let's.
Well, I guess let's move on to the weekly news segment, because it looks like our guest is not there at the moment.
Oh, we lost Lee?
Yeah, we lost our Lee.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Lee.
I just emailed him. I feel bad. But yeah, I guess let's move forward.
The Monerotopia weekly news segment is sponsored by iVPN. Use a VPN to help prevent your online activity from becoming a permanent record. iVPN encrypts your data and DNS requests so your ISP or mobile network provider cannot monitor or log your online activity. Purchase an iVPN service today anonymously with Monero.
All right. Let's pull it up so I can see it. You can make that.
I'll make it bigger. There you go. But I can't.
All right. So this morning, Howard Chu tweeted, this is dangerous and irresponsible messaging. Russians using BTC, ETH, and transparent crypto to aid Ukraine are inviting imprisonment. There's only one true cryptocurrency designed expressly to be safe for use in oppressive totalitarian regimes. Use Monero. And this was in response to, can you scroll down there? In response to, the news that Russians were potentially making donations to the Ukrainian effort. So Russians that obviously disagree with what Putin's doing and disagree with the war there are actually reaching out to potentially support Ukrainian efforts, and that it was noted and said by the Russian government that it would be considered high treason if anybody was caught making these donations. And so Howard pointing out that it would be extremely dangerous to use a traceable crypto for those purposes. So all things we've been talking about ad nauseum here, and I guess we're just all in shock that the wider crypto community isn't talking about that more. So good on Howard pointing that out. Hopefully we'll start to see Bitcoiners point that out. I'd like to see Alex Gladstein point that out. I'd like to see Peter McCormick point that out. I'd like to see that guy Corey from Swan Bitcoin. Why aren't these guys stepping up and making sure that people aren't misusing crypto and using a traceable crypto when they should be using Monero, specifically in these instances? Article basically talking about the same type of stuff. After collecting 47 million in Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Ether donations, Ukraine is rewarding its supporters with a special airdrop. I don't really even know what this airdrop thing is, but going through this article, it's interesting. They mention all of these different cryptos that people are donating to the efforts. Polkadot, somebody, or I think that's what's called, Polkadot. They donated 5 million worth. Like every crypto out there, but I literally saw zero mention of Monero in the article. So this is just kind of beyond me. It's like it's kind of like crypto clown world here. We have like it just doesn't make sense. Like here it is, guys, and I'm sure people are using Monero for these purposes, but why isn't crypto land talking about Monero more and making sure that people do use Monero in these instances? So no mention of Monero in that article, which I found to be quite troubling. Nassim Taleb, very well known, hundreds of thousands of followers, really respected intellectual who happens to also hate Bitcoin. I don't know. I think crypto in general, he's kind of, at one point he was pro crypto, I think, and whatever. He just, I think he ultimately kind of thinks it's a scam. But he noted, to simplify, if governments declare that a certain BTC address is tainted, that parentheses, that is put on a sanction list, any additional transactions flowing from it become tainted as well, as in polluted chain. BTC is not fungible. So Nassim Taleb driving it home, making it clear to everybody that because of the fact that you can track and trace and sanction Bitcoin, it means it's not fungible. I think a lot of Monero people chimed in and told them, started waving their hands, hey, how about Monero, how about Monero? And I think he did actually make a Monero comment in response. I don't know what it was, but I don't think it was anything positive. I think he's just discounting.
No, it says tweet. It says, and no, Monero is not fit to be a store of value if the act of using it makes the transaction suspicious.
Ah, right. So he's saying it's Monero itself is fundamentally kind of not fungible, right? Just by using Monero, you're putting a target on your back, which I think is BS, right? So maybe if, I don't know, maybe when Monero in the younger days, sure, but you could have said that about Bitcoin at some point. But obviously that problem, if it does exist today, won't exist tomorrow as more people adopt Monero. You won't be able to say, all right, everybody that's using Monero is a criminal. We're clearly not criminals, and we use Monero all the time. And I'm sure the vast majority of people that tune into this show, same thing. Regular people using Monero for its liberating aspects.
And our last tab.
Oh,
Rhino
announced. So this is Binary Fates project, along with others, I believe. I don't know who else has been working on this. Binary was, seemed like he was a little quiet recently.
Yeah.
We haven't heard
kind
much.
Of reminds me of XMRtopia.
Oh, yes. Yes, it does. Yeah, there you go. All right. So I guess that was a little
kind of.
yeah, homage to XMR.to. If anybody who doesn't know what that is, that was a service that was used to move between essentially seamlessly make Bitcoin payments with Monero seamlessly. So
like your tainted Bitcoin.
So wherever Bitcoin was accepted, you could essentially use Monero, and they would kind of make the trade for you behind the scenes. And it was a great service. A lot of people were using it, but they ultimately I think had to shut down due to regulations, or they were feeling pressure. And everybody's like, well, what's Binary working on now? And I guess this is it, Rhino, which is seems like a tremendous effort here. It's going to be. You want to quickly read just what it is?
Yeah, Rhino is a new type of Monero wallet, non-custodial, enterprise grade, based on multi-sig. Non-custodial means there is no way for Rhino to spend your money. The necessary keys to send funds stay under your control. This is long, yeah. Pretty cool.
So basically, they're implementing the multi-sig features of Monero. Actually, they have to wait because there was, I think, essentially some kind of flaw in the current multi-sig architecture that's being used for Monero, which is actively being fixed now, and they're going to wait for that to launch, and then they'll go live. So Rhino actually isn't live yet. It's a test net. But once the multi-sig features are fixed on the protocol, they'll be able to implement it. And this is just kind of big news. That's obviously, I think, from a personal user perspective, you'll be able to, there'll be a wallet where through multi-sig, there'll be less concern about essentially losing your crypto, allow you to split up your keys. So you have one of the keys, the Rhino has one of the keys. And essentially the way it's going to work is it's going to allow for these non-custodial options. But the bigger picture is here, they're kind of building a system that will kind of be a behind the scenes rails that other companies can integrate with. So BitGo is kind of the Bitcoin version of this. If you guys Google BitGo, you'll see really big, successful company. A lot of like major exchanges use it. And I think that's what Rhino is kind of setting up to be. And that's kind of like the real exciting potential with Rhino, is that it now becomes this tool that big crypto companies can rely on and use to easily integrate Monero into their systems and their offerings, and using the multi-sig features to safely store and hold people's Monero in a trustless way, where the user ultimately has the key as well. So using multi-sig to do that, and they're kind of creating a way to make it easy for these companies, these institutions to adopt that tech essentially. So that's exciting stuff, guys. That's kind of like I'd say kind of a big breakthrough in Monero land there. What else we got?
I think that's it.
That's it for news.
Yeah.
Did Lee
Lee
come back?
Came back.
All right.
Lee came back. Yeah.
Want to do another quick intro?
Yeah, we'll do another little quick intro here with our wonderful guest segment. The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for jumping back on. We thought we lost you.
Sorry about that, Lee.
You're muted.
It was me. I lost the internet connection. I've got this Firefox thing going on. I got it all under control. There's like,
No, thank you. We're like, oh no.
we
felt
thought
so bad.
sorry about that.
I can't even describe that to get it back up and working again. But it's I think next time I'll have a fail safe maybe, because this is very professional looking studio I noticed, and I'm probably if you saw how janky this setup was, you would understand. I feel.
Well, we hear you loud and clear. So it's all
well,
good.
that's good. I think I guess what I'm saying is I felt like I needed a wireless backup. I have everything needed, here to set to do that. But I realized that I was about to come up on a segment, and then the internet connection just dropped, and I'm like, oh man. So I started looking for to get my cell phone as a backup. But yeah, that I didn't have it set up for that basically. So anyway,
all good, man.
We're glad you came back.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I mean. Anyway,
thank you for jumping on, man. We're super excited to have you down at Monerotopia. You're one of kind of our headline speakers down there, bringing the heavy tech talk with regards to Monero. So thanks for that, man. Thanks for being a speaker at Monerotopia. First off. Yeah.
So I've got a vague idea what my talk's going to be about. Not a vague idea. It's going to be on. Similar to like last time, it'll be basically on network privacy kind of thing. Awesome. Right, because this is sort of at the heart of sort of everything that you've been discussing. Is this what you wanted to discuss, or does it matter?
Yes.
Okay. Right, so I want to talk about the P2P encryption protocol that I plan implementing. I was debating whether we should use TLS or something custom. There's some advantages either way. No one has really given me much feedback other than a couple of people have suggested that the plan for custom protocol. Basically, I'm just going to present in April and tell what my plans are for the custom protocol. And if anybody has any issues with that, they can talk to me there, and we can go the TLS route. But for various reasons, I thought Monero is custom everything. Why not just do a custom P2P protocol? But there are good reasons why to avoid TLS. So the talk's going to be about how to make it harder. It'll make it slightly harder for people to identify that you're on the Monero network. Basically, is the reason why we would use this. Most people probably don't have a need for this unless you're in one of these troubled countries, and even then, I'm just trying to tie everything back together again. What you guys have just been discussing this whole episode. The thing that people have to remember is that like Monero isn't going to be a silver bullet where no one can trace you. I think Brandon has talked about this in great length. He described it as, if a black hole leaks radiation, how can Monero possibly be, completely untraceable? And I know that sort of rubs people the wrong way, but the thing you have to remember is with Bitcoin is really scary because it's almost like your bank details are just put out in the open. Like, who wants that? So this is sort of why the Monero side is working so hard on privacy, because it really needs to behave much closer to cash than it does to whatever Bitcoin is doing. But that doesn't mean Bitcoin doesn't have a role. I thought about this for a while. I've always thought that Monero and Bitcoin sort of were co-companions, in that, Monero has it's difficult because Monero's supply is audited by cryptography, fairly advanced cryptography. And if something goes wrong in that, like there's two sides of the argument there with I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place, but trust me, this is all connected here.
No, I'm picking it up, please.
Yeah. So it's like both are sort of necessary, because Bitcoin is dead simple in its auditing capabilities. Like, how many coins are there? Well, the code that governs that is pretty basic. The code that governs Monero's, to audit the supply is fairly advanced. There are people that can do it. I'm sure there's, cryptographers all over the world that can review that code. But it's difficult when someone comes up to me and says, hey, is there a backdoor Monero? And I'm like, well, no, but it's fairly complicated. So the best we could do is, I think Monero has a bright future. I mean, there's some really bright minds all over the world working on this. And so again, to tie it back to my talk is going to be focused on what I'm primarily focused on, which is network privacy. And the goal will be to, just make sure that like this mass surveillance stuff is, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing people need to understand is that I tell people this all the time, where they ask, like, is it Monero untraceable? Nobody can find you. And I'm like, look, if the FBI sends 30 people after you to watch your every move, you're not going to fool them, right? Like, and I hate to break people's bubble on that, but what we can do is make it really hard for the bad guys to track you. And that's the other thing that I think there's a whole other side of this that people don't think about. People focus on bad guys using cryptocurrency to do illegal things, but there's also bad guys that can track Bitcoin to do bad things. So there's so many different scenarios that people aren't considering, I think, sometimes, that it's just kind of unique. And so anyway, that's what my talk's gonna be focused on. I think I'll talk a little bit about like what Tor does. But as you can tell, the reason I'm all over the place is I'm sort of narrowing in on what the talk needs to be about. It's going to be on network privacy and what Monero is doing and why we're leading the charge. I mean, at this point, Bitcoin is something similar. They were trying to do a custom protocol. Ours will be similar to theirs. And that's actually why I felt more confident in going with for those that know this, I've talked to people privately at the last Monero meetup, and everyone said go with the noise protocol. The noise protocol is separate from TLS. The Lightning Network is using it. WireGuard is using it. Bitcoin is using it. So when I saw some of the big players were transitioning to a new encryption protocol separate from TLS, I thought, well, if Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, and WireGuard are using this new technology, well, there's a certain point where we go, well, Monero almost has to use it, right? I mean, we don't want to be left in the dust. And the reason why I think in the end that the problem with TLS is that it's just become too complicated because they have this legacy baggage. And you see this with Windows, you see this, and again, I'm going all over the place, but I'm tying it together here. The reason why I proposed the custom protocol, or somewhat custom, we're going to use noise protocol here, but each implementation is slightly different. And this is why it's sort of tough to implement the noise protocol, because with TLS, you just use it. But the noise protocol, you almost have to tweak it to your particular needs. And you need someone that understands the cryptography to write that. And now, luckily, I understand all that. It's just that Yeah, so maybe that's what the talk will be. See, I'm all over the place again.
Wait, I could feel the neurons firing through.
Well, it's like there's all these loosely connected dots. They're all there. Trust me.
Let me ask you a question just to kind of.
Right. Well, you haven't asked me a question. That'll help because I've just been ranting.
I got a lot of. Well, first of all, you bringing up this point that Monero, what it's doing well right now is preventing mass surveillance and making it really hard.
Correct.
For any entity that wants to gain information about all the users and connect the dots there. But what it may not be able to solve, and fundamentally no crypto may be able to solve this, is if you're a target and you're pinpointed, given enough resources, people can figure out who you are and how you're using your crypto. But I think that's really isn't the goal with Monero. The goal is
Correct.
to be digital cash. So same thing with cash, right? So cash is a great way to avoid mass surveillance. If we were all using cash, it'd be really difficult for governments and companies to track all our spending habits and tie it together. But that being said, that wouldn't prevent governments from pinpointing any individual and figuring out what they're doing and how they're using their cash, right? Is that kind of a fair?
Right. That's I keep seeing this trend where this goes back to see. I guess what people don't understand is I because I'm a visible person, I have all these private conversations at these cryptocurrency conferences, and so what looks like loosely connected dots are people coming up like, so no one can find me, right? And I'm like, no, just listen to what Brandon the cryptographer is saying. He's saying that like, we literally can't make you invisible, but the goal isn't invisibility. It's sort of like, what we don't want is these sort of the mass surveillance thing, right? I mean, I think that's right. We want something closer to digital cash, and Monero, I think you've said this repeatedly, is the closest thing that I've seen to digital cash. Other than, I mean, there are other projects like Zcash and PirateChain, but it's a little unknown. And Brandon, I'm sure the other cryptographers can talk about that. The cryptography they're using is a little bit less studied, which isn't to say that it's broken. It's just to say that Monero was more conservative in terms of techniques being used. So again, this goes back to supply auditing. Bitcoin is the most simple. Monero is some hard to describe amount, harder to define, and Zcash and PirateChain are even further in their complexity and hiding in not hiding, but in auditing the supply. Meaning, it's those are just probably, I guess I'm saying those are just the most interesting projects, Bitcoin and the privacy coins, and some of these other ones. So yeah, again, the problem is that I got too many concerns here. I'm thinking about like so many big picture things. But
the problem is you're
I know.
You're what crypto needs, right? Is you're pragmatic and you're looking at this as an engineer, not somebody who is
right.
Believing in some system and wishing and hoping it to be something they want it to be. Which this is why I love Monero and think it's the best project. Is there's you and a lot of other people like you that are super smart, super intelligent, that are taking a pragmatic view to this and treating it like a technology and trying to design something that has an end result that mimics digital cash, but realizing that there are pros and cons and design decisions that ultimately need to be made to get there, and that we don't live in this idealistic world where we can create this perfect technology without there being some kind of design consideration.
The way I would phrase it is, it's almost like there's this trade-off. There's this interesting trade-off between privacy. Well, everyone knows the privacy angle, but the auditing supply is also linked very tightly with the privacy angle, where Bitcoin is the most surveilled, partly because all of the transaction amounts are public. And so you have to realize that by making the amounts public, that adds a huge privacy risk. It allows any entity, whether government or not government, the ability to trace transactions easier. And it's we discuss this all the time. I'm not even sure if you can actually do it coin joins correctly unless the amount is encrypted. But as soon as you encrypt the amount, this makes the supply chain, or not the supply chain, the amount auditing more complicated. However, you remove the biggest source of tracing. And but then again, this scares people a lot because their assumption is, oh my God, people can do whatever they want. It's going to be complete anarchy. And it's like, well, no, it's not. At least I don't see it that way. Maybe other people see it that way. But then there's this other side where there's these different privacy coins, and Monero is the most conservative in terms of its cryptography, where there's some competing projects. And so the downside of that is they have even better anonymity capabilities, with the downside of the math is even less studied. It's less researched. It's newer. So it's kind of an open competition, really, between, at least in my opinion, between Bitcoin and these other cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Monero is in a good position because, as you said, the goal is that you said repeatedly is digital cash. And that's a very, very nice use case. I mean, anything from, like, I tell people all this all the time. I've mentioned this on not on Monerotopia, but the other podcast we do.
Monerotopia.
Right.
Maybe something else.
No, on the one with Justin.
Yep.
Oh man, I lost my train of thought now. See, I was so busy talking about Justin.
Digital cash, something related to digital cash.
Man, I've got too many things going on right
let
now.
me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So the network privacy, I feel like, is one of these things that's overlooked. Obviously not by you, but I'm saying, like, your general Monero user and crypto person. So they're looking at the protocol and they're saying, oh, it obfuscates the sender, obfuscates the receiver. You can't see the amounts. But what people don't really always think about is kind of the network privacy. And
right.
I think you could probably explain this better than anybody, but that's one of those things where there really is no perfect solution. I guess my question to you is, where is Monero currently at in terms of network privacy?
Right.
And where are you trying to get us to? And theoretically, where can we ultimately get to?
So that's going to be the summary of my talk in April 7th. So I think you've just summed it up for me. But currently, Monero is in some cases behind, in some cases ahead. So, for instance, Monero's P2P privacy is unencrypted. Bitcoin has been moving to something. I have to check their status on this, but if you go on their mailing list, I've been tracking their custom encryption protocol since the very Bitcoin dev mailing list. Someone, it would have been Jonas, I believe, posted a message about their about a custom protocol for privacy on Bitcoin, and I immediately gave feedback, or at least my thoughts on it. And I think they made some changes as a result of that, possibly. And again, you can go through this. So Bitcoin has been moving slowly toward a custom protocol. Other systems already have some sort of encryption capability. Some smaller projects are using TLS. Then, of course, there's like Lightning Network, which is using the noise protocol already. So, like, in that regard, we're behind, say, like the Lightning Network because our custom P2P channel is unencrypted. On the other hand, we have a very, very advanced Tor capability for sending transactions. I'm not aware of any other system that is even coming close to that right now. This is sort of the so the Tor side is pretty much set. I think we're doing pretty good over there, and it's also written so that it could use Tor, it can use ITP. If there's another system that comes along that's better, as long as they implement the SOX protocol, we'll implement another network. So if there's something better than Tor, or there's something that the community likes better than Tor, it's fairly easy to add in a new network for them for transaction sending. And so to explain, that Tor side is primarily used to protect your privacy when sending transactions. That's kind of like the main goal of the Tor network, our usage of the Tor network, or I2P, or perhaps a third one. The the unencrypted PDP links, and so let me describe that difference too, because this confuses a ton of people. What's really getting confusing, I have to explain this, is the way that PDP channel works, because there's both some communication goes directly IP to IP, and some communication is then sent over the Tor network. So the way for privacy purposes, you want to send your transactions over the Tor network or ITP or some, possibly future third protocol. And so in that case, what we're doing is we're not handling, the Monero community is never going to handle its own obfuscation or hiding protocol. That's because that's so much work that we're just going to let some other protocol do it. The advantage and then, so again, my apologies. Let me rewind again here. What we're trying to accomplish is that you send transactions over these obfuscation networks, but you sync the blockchain directly IP to IP. And we do this because you can do everything over Tor, but there's issues with potential DOS attacks. So the advantage of having IP-IP connections, it's faster, it's lower latency. So miners will much prefer to do direct IP-IP communication. And the other advantage is, well, I guess that's all the advantages. But the problem is now we have a great facility for hiding the transaction, but the direct communication is still unencrypted. So there's still some information that can be observed. So for instance, if you like, a really great example would be, maybe that's not some people like Howard are running a full node on their cell phone. At least they were, if I recall. So if you go into a coffee shop and there's an unencrypted connection there, I don't know. Let me reset again. The problem is I haven't actually written out the.
Let me ask you another question.
Well, I'm at least narrowing in because let me focus up. We're ahead in as far as most other systems with dealing with Tor and I2P and all that. Integration with that is amazing because you can send we have a setup so that you can send only transactions over Tor or I2P, and you sync the blockchain over our own custom P2P protocol. This is the best scenario for denial of service attacks. It's the best scenario in preventing Eclipse attacks. And so it's the best blend of safety in terms of getting the correct blockchain download. And it's the best balance of privacy. Some people are really paranoid to the point where they want to do everything over Tor and I2P. The next release we have will definitely have that capability built in. So you can run everything over Tor I2P. The disadvantage to doing that is there's a slight security issue where you could have an Eclipse attack or something else over the Tor I2P network. It's really hard to filter out bad actors on the Tor I2P network because everything is anonymous. So this is why we have these multiple setup modes. Most people want to use the default mode. And see, I guess what I'm saying is here, we're working toward a mode so you just run it and it just works. This is what people don't understand. I think they hear all this big talking in circles here, but it's pretty much us working out, just run it, just works, and then these other scenarios. So the other scenario that most people will run is they sync the blockchain over the Monero's P2P network. It will be encrypted, and it will probably, almost at this point, almost certainly be using the noise protocol, which again is all the other major products are switching to that. And so we're behind in the privacy angle over Monero's custom P2P protocol, but we're really private over the transaction sending. Again, I'll have to narrow in how the problem I'm having right now is I have to sort of succinctly put that in like 1 or 2 slides. So I think of it. I just have to work out the details on the slides because there's so many different scenarios that what I want to do is I want to have a default out of the box that works for most average people, and then I'll have documentation describing if you're this paranoid, use this mode. If you're not as paranoid, use this mode kind of angle to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me just ask one question, and you've kind of said it in different ways, but just so to simplify things a little bit.
Right.
And there might not be an easy answer to this, but so like what makes Monero so great is it's private by default. People don't have to jump through hoops to make it private. You just use Monero and it works. So do we get to a point in terms of the privacy of the network where when somebody is using their Cake wallet on their iPhone or their Monero wallet on their Android, that by default, without the user doing any tricks or any taking extra steps, that there'll be some kind of decent base level of network privacy built into the usage of Monero in that respect?
Correct. The overarching goal we have for Monero every time is make the defaults as private as possible to balance the privacy versus security. Because this is why I'm going in circles a bit here. When you up the privacy, it makes it harder and harder for the security angle. Are you downloading the correct blockchain? So the privacy will have, I guess we'll call it the perfect level of paranoia, which is to say, we're going to have the most sane defaults built in. And so the idea would be ideally the ideal scenario that we're working toward, and this is the problem. I can see all the pieces in play here because I see what everyone's working toward. Ideally, we'll have a cell phone, and that wallet will then connect to either, the answer is yes. We'll make it as usable as possible and as private as possible for the average user, and for most people, it'll just work. Now, the trade-off is like if you're doing something seriously bad, the default mode is made for. I'll give you an example. What we're trying to get. When I think in my head, what are our defaults going to be? I think that's what you want to know. When a programmer puts a Bitcoin address up for donations, anyone in the entire world can see exactly how much money that programmer is receiving and when they're receiving it. That's why I say it is like one of the scariest things that people do. Like, I don't even know why programmers put a Bitcoin address up for public donations. I mean, they're literally telling the whole world, hey, look, someone just gave me $200,000. Well, I'm speaking hypothetically here. And so with Monero, the perfect level of privacy will be, it'll keep all that hidden from all these people, these weirdos that would want to know how much money you're receiving and why. So yes, the default settings will be geared towards, say, the average tech user who just wants it to work and isn't really doing anything highly criminal or illegal. It's just that why in the world would you want to put all your bank details on the internet? Like I wouldn't want to post my account statements. Like, no one does that. Like Ricardo has talked about this. When someone was debating privacy, in a debate, he just shut down the debate by saying, okay, well, post all your bank details. If you think privacy is unimportant, post your whole bank details. And that's kind of what you're doing when you publish a Bitcoin address for donations. So our goal really is to make sure to protect the privacy of, the good people of the world who just want it to work and just don't want, they want it to work like digital cash effectively. So that, again, that's just that's going to be our default settings. Now, the thing that people have to understand is that there's a new protocol separate from what Sarang worked on. And there'll be some interesting privacy modes in this, assuming the math works out. I have not gone through the math details on this, but someone who I think they know what they're doing, but I'd like to review it. I'm referring to Seraphis here with UKHB.
Yes, people are asking about that right in the chat.
Right. The advantage.
What happened?
Oh no.
Here, I can still see you guys though.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
can you hear me again?
Nope.
Yeah, we can hear.
They'll be the answer there is that like Seraphis will probably be the way that Monero is. UKHB seems to have a pretty good handle of what they're doing. My role is just going to be to make sure that there's no oopsies in there. But there's a mode that will help with wallet privacy. So like, for instance, right now, my Monero has some privacy concerns because it can see a lot of data. Seraphis will help with that, actually. but we'll push some more work onto the front end, meaning the phone. So for those that don't know what I mean by that is, my Monero is the simplest. You fire it up and it does all the work on their back end, and there's very little work done on your phone. Cake Wallet is the opposite, where it's fetching everything from a node directly. So it's way more private, but the downside is that phone has to constantly scan for transactions. We've got a blended mode that we'll probably go with, and I think that's what Binary's project is about. This is the first time I've ever seen that was on your telecast here, the so-called Rhino wallet, or was it a wallet? I think.
Yes.
So that'll probably happen is that will be again, each user, what'll be interesting is each user has their own choice, effectively. My Monero will be doing its thing, Rhino will be doing its thing, and Cake Wallet will be doing its thing. And it depends on your level of privacy that you need. Cake Wallet will be the most private. Rhino Wallet will be somewhere in between the two. And then again, this is assuming they don't change what they're doing. I'm just projecting out what there's a space for Rhino Wallet, I guess is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. There's a niche for it, I think is the right word. And I don't see any of these wallets. They're all in competition with each other, but they're serving slightly different roles and it all depends on a person's level of privacy and instant usage. So like my Monero will have the most, it will probably have the most experience like the old banking system where it just works instantly. And Rhino will be a blend in between, and then from there, mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's all going to depend on users' preferences there.
Lee, we just
yeah, no, I'm going all over the place.
No. You're this is all amazing information. I'm sure everyone.
What's frustrating is the network. It's all tied together between these wallets and everything, because there's tons of communication channels. Like every time you connect to one of these remote identities, you're technically leaking data, and this is what Brandon was getting at. Mm-hmm. Even if you connect to my Monero, you're technically still leaking. Like your phone is leaking the IP address to my Monero, and anybody can see that you're connecting to my Monero. So this is the kind of thing that Brandon is talking about. You really can't. We can't teleport matter, so you're going to be leaking something somehow, some way, right? And that's just the reality that Brandon was trying to get at. And so a lot of these projects are just sort of. They're serving a niche, and I don't see, and there's technically competitors, but I don't see any of them really going away. Anyway, I've lost I went way off.
Well, I saw one of the questions was, who is this guy? If you don't know who Lee Clagett is, and you're into Monero, you're doing it wrong. So do your research, Google him. We interviewed him on Monero Talk, I think a few times. He's been interviewed elsewhere. He's the brains and the brawn behind Monero, one of these guys that's like actually building this stuff. So that's who Lee is. He's one of the guys that actually is making Monero what it is today. So
yeah, the only other thing I want to point out to people is I've been really behind on one of my CCSs, and part of the reason why I wasn't billing. I'm still debating whether this is going to happen. I've been talking to Justin about this. I'm still debating whether I'm going to write my own wallet. But my own wallet would be to serve a very specific niche, and that niche case is basically just me and other weirdos like me. Which is all going to be, well, it would be a terminal-only wallet, but it will use Unicode. But my idea would be it would use Unicode and a couple other features so that it's for the most paranoid. I don't know. I have there is a niche for it, but I don't know how many other people are like me in that regard. So I'll have to talk to Justin.
Monero, probably quite a few. So
yeah, it would be. Yeah, it have some interesting ideas there. But so I spent a lot of the summer thinking about that, how I would implement that, and so that pushed this. I wasn't billing that to the CCS. I also in the fall I did a bunch of stuff with a communication protocol. We'll talk about that. Not we. It's between Celsta and I and a couple other people.
We're at an hour.
We're an hour and a half.
We're at an hour and a half.
I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling in circles. The thing is
starting to give me looks here, guys. I think
all right.
We need is just move
you wrap it up.
yeah, we just need to move on to the on stage segment. So this is where we let people jump on stage. So if there is anybody that wants to jump on, ask Lee a question directly, now is the time to do so. Come on up, guys.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
This is high quality production, by the way. I need to. I'm gonna have to buy a whole new studio for my home.
Yeah, StreamYard is pretty awesome. I like StreamYard.
Sunita makes this all possible,
Yeah.
including the hookup here. We brought all the equipment down. So yeah, anybody want to jump on?
Quickly, if you guys want to say hello and ask a question.
I promise my answers will be more succinct than just rambling. It's
Sunita's
there's so much work to do.
Nobody jumps on right now. She wants to head to the beach, and I don't blame her. Actually, sun is starting
to kind of peak out, and then we have a bunch
out.
of things that we got to do.
We have family members looking through the window, giving us dirty looks here. Anybody that wants to jump on, now is the time, guys.
Should we go to some of the comments in the chat or no?
I think we touched upon them. People were basically asking about Surface, and I think one other asking about, when Monero, I think it was, if you want to try to find it, they were talking about when Monero scales up, when it's being used by, hundreds of millions of people, kind of what will the privacy implications be there? Will there be, will Monero be able to essentially maintain its privacy as it scales up with users?
In that regard, the more users there are, the better it helps with privacy. Because if you've got a small number of like if you have 10 people using Monero, it's pretty easy to figure out what's going on. So more users does not hurt privacy. If anything, it helps privacy.
Yes. All right. That was my hunch as well. And I think that's I'm not sure where they were getting at with that question. We do have somebody that jumped on. Who's this?
Legend LooTz.
Hey, what's up, man? This is LooTz from PirateChain.
Hello.
What's going on?
Yeah, I mentioned PirateChain.
Nothing much. Remember seeing you at PorcFest, man.
Yes.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Serving that nice Monero coffee every morning.
Yes. Yes. We'll be there again this year for sure.
Oh, I will be too, bro. We'll be doing the movie every night.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Are you coming to Monerotopia?
I believe so, yeah. I think we're looking into sponsoring it right now, becoming a sponsor.
Okay, reach out to us. We'll
see.
consider that. I don't know. We don't want to
know.
cause too much controversy among the Monero community.
Well,
what's going on, Em?
There's no controversy. I would love to work with all you guys, man. There's no reason for us to not work together. Like, you're looking for solutions to protect the wallet even more, and we're looking for the same thing. So why aren't we working together is the question. We have a guy making a hardware wallet. I could introduce you. We could all come up with amazing ideas together. Also the operating system and the DEX we're creating will only be privacy coins. So it'd only be Monero and Pirate in there. I don't believe in any other coins. So it's I'm on track with you guys. You guys just got to work with us. There's no hatred here, guys. I love you. I love all technology.
Yeah, 100%. Same here, man. Same here. I think the only concern is diverting attention away from a project like Monero that has a ton of open source devs working on it, and concerns that Pirate, not saying you, but others maybe in the community are just trying to pump it up, get people to use it, and pump up the price, not so much develop digital cash. That's I'm just giving you my honest take on how some people in Monero might be viewing it. But if you want to respond to that, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay, man. We can't survive without each other. If something happened to Monero, we do need an alternative, and vice versa, right? Something happens to Pirate, we need Monero. It's necessary that we have redundancy in this space, in this privacy space, and having Monero and all its forks. Still, the forks of Monero are are all Monero to me. When I see a fork of Monero, it's still Monero. Darrow and Wow and all those other ones. But a different breed of animal would be Pirate, right? So that gives us redundancy in the privacy space. I'm sorry, that's my son in the background.
We're gonna...
You have any questions for Lee with regards to what we're talking about? If you want to,
yes, that new wallet you're building, bro. Let's try to find a way to get a decentralized VPN built into it, so that have you heard of the DVPNs like Sentinel and Mysterium and Orchard, like all these DVPNs that are coming out? Maybe we could work on something where when people use the wallet, they activate the VPN, by default when it turns on, and people have a little bit more protection with their IP address. It makes it just a little bit better. I'm always looking for more mitigation factors, right? So,
you're muted.
Those protocols, I will go back and I'll probably just watch the video again because there's so much information in here. To find about those protocols. That probably does make sense, because the wallet I had in mind would be connecting to, it was going to be terminal based, and it would be sort of the idea would be you could either use it as a read only or read write. So one mode would be you connect to various places, like the exchanges. You connect to a Monero daemon. You connect to a light wallet server Monero. You connect to whatever. And the role of the wallet is it pushes as much work onto these other projects as possible. Meaning this would just be like a viewer and to give you an overview of your current balance. So my idea would be that was sort of the idea that I had in my head. So anyway, as far as DPVNs goes, if I would research them and try to integrate it with them. I mean, I don't know anything about this DPPN, so I can't comment on that at this time. But it's something that I would look into now that I know they exist.
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. Come on, don't be shy, man. My name is LooTz. You can find me in the Pirate Discord anytime. And don't be a stranger, dude. Let's work together. I'd love to come up with new ideas. That's what I do.
Yeah, I might not even have time to work on the wallet, so maybe, I don't know. We'll
listen, guys. Yeah. We literally have to wrap it up at this.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right, man. It was nice to meet you guys. Love you all.
Reach out to us, man. We'll talk about Monerotopia. Everybody, thank you for joining. Lee, thank you so much, man, for your time. Super excited to have you down at Monerotopia. Thank you to Rolf, who was on. I see questions. People are asking questions about quantum computing and Monero. We're going to have a speaker at Monerotopia talking just about that. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe we'll get him to jump on as a guest before Monerotopia as well. So thank you to everybody. Lee, any last words that you want to close out with?
I promise my talk will be more coherent because I haven't. It'll be more straightforward, I guess, than this discussion was going all over the place. It'll be focused strictly on Doug's question of where's the current status of Monero's network privacy and where it's going. And so, and for those that don't know, it'll be using. I think at this point I'm pretty much settled on the noise protocol, and I'll explain why. Basically why is because all the other projects are using it. So I think there's a reason, and I'll explain all that.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for jumping on, man. Reach out to us if you guys want to participate in Monerotopia in some way. Happy to have everybody and anybody that's interested in privacy tech and building digital cash. So hit us up.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. We'll see you next week or next time. Thank you guys for joining us. And don't forget to purchase a ticket to the Monerotopia Conference on April 7th.
And we'll see you after the wedding.
We'll see you after the wedding. We'll see.
I don't know what's happening, guys.
All right, guys. Bye. Have a good one. Adios.
Ciao.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey,
or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.
Nice.